Hello students, and welcome to the e-learning program initiated by Shri Gyanmanjari Vidyapith for the students of Standard 10, in which we are learning the subject of English. In the previous lecture, we started with chapter number 4, that is from the diary of Anne Frank, which is part of the book, that is main book, First Flight. Let us take a quick recap of what we have learned in the previous chapter, in the previous lecture. First of all, we learnt about the background, that is World War II, which started from 1939, lasted till 1945. Anne Frank was born and brought up in Frankfurt, Germany. She was born to Jewish parents, that means the people followed Judaism. That means Anne Frank was a Jewish girl. In 1939, Hitler became the Chancellor of Germany, and in a stepwise manner, he started eliminating the Jews from Germany first. So, his parent, the father, shifted to Netherlands, Amsterdam. He got a job over there. He had an office over there, and afterwards, he started his own business, and he shifted his family from Germany to Netherlands, where they were living peacefully along with other Jews living over there. But then Hitler started attacking the nearby European countries. In that, he also attacked Netherlands and took over the city of Amsterdam. So the family of Anne Frank had to go in hiding. They hid in the part of the office, and they cleverly hid the section with a cupboard of books that became the door for their secret living space. It was quite small, but the family managed until somebody betrayed them, and the family of Anne Frank was caught by the Nazi police, and they were sent to the concentration camp along with lots of Jews, where most of the family members died, including the mother, elder sister Margot, and Anne Frank herself. Thereby, only one survivor was left, that is the father. In that concentration camp, most of the Jews were killed in the gas chambers, or the Jews died naturally because of no hygiene, sanitation, or no warm clothes in the severe harsh winter. So, most of them died. Anne Frank died due to a disease that she caught in the concentration camp. Then the World War came to an end, and the father, Otto Frank, was rescued by the Allied forces. He returned to Netherlands and collected the belongings of his family, which he found the diary of Anne Frank. Going through the diary, he thought that this is a very genuine document which the world should read so that they can understand the horrors that happened with the Jews, especially how a 13-year-old looked at the extreme torture given by the Nazis and what happened to the Nazis in Germany, outside Germany. So the father got translated the book, which was written in Dutch. The diary was written in Dutch language. It got translated into English, and then it was published under the name of The Diary of a Young Girl. And as soon as it was published, it became instantly quite famous and the most read book in the world. And then it was translated to many other languages, and many more people were able to read The Diary of the Young Girl. So this is the background that we started with, along with some of the facts. Now let us continue with the chapter. Let us read the diary, extract of the diary, few entries that have been taken from the diary of the young girl, so that we can understand what Anne Frank had written, what were her feelings, what were the emotions, and how the world looked like from the eyes of a 13-year-old world, which was quite limited for her, a world in which she lived in confinement in a part of a building. She was not allowed to go outside. So all these things, let us learn the few extracts that are given in this chapter that are taken from Anne Frank's diary. The chapter from the diary of Anne Frank is divided into small parts for better understanding. So we start with part 4.1. Writing in a diary is really strange experience for someone like me. Now these are the words of Anne Frank. Not only because I have never written anything before, but also because it seems to me that later on neither I nor anyone else will be interested in the musings of a 13-year-old schoolgirl. As we already have discussed in the previous lecture, that this diary was given to her as a present because nothing else was available. So a diary was given to her as a present for her 13th birthday, and from then on she started writing the diary. So nobody taught her how to write. Nobody told her how to write. She's just writing the diary on her own. And so it's a very queer or a strange experience for someone, especially like Anne Frank. It's a very strange experience of writing a diary. First of all, she has never written a diary before, so she doesn't know how to write a diary. But also, on a second thought, later on, why I should read my own diary? Because later on I'll grow up, and then I'll find my own writing when I was 13-year-old. It will seem very foolish and immature to write all those things. So nor will she, nor will anybody else will be interested in what musings, funny thoughts that occurred to a 13-year-old schoolgirl. Nobody is interested, nor even I will be interested when I read it, say when I am 18 years, 19 years, 20 years old. I will also find what I have written quite funny, and then I'll think, why did I write that? So after a long time, nobody will be interested, including me, nobody will be interested in knowing what was written by a 13-year-old schoolgirl. Musing means a thoughtful and a considerate writing, but then when it will be looked at few years later, it will look quite foolish. So that is what Anne Frank is worried about, that later on nobody will be interested. Right now I am writing very thoughtfully. Then she says to herself, oh well, it doesn't matter. I feel like writing, and I have an even greater need to get all kinds of things off my chest. For us students, the last line is very, very important. She says, I don't care what I think, what somebody else will think. I don't care. Right now, I feel like writing, and so I'm writing. Simple. As simple as I can put it, I feel like writing, I'm writing. And right now, I have even a more greater need, because I need to get all kinds of things off my chest. Off my chest, that means out of my heart. That is the most important thing for us. Off my chest means all those things, all those thoughts, all those things that I see, I feel about, I have emotions about, I care for, or I hate, I love. All those things are filled in my heart, and I need something or someone to pour out those feelings so that I can empty my heart. And this, students, you must also have experienced that you have lots and lots of things which you can share with somebody of your own age, that means a friend. What things you talk with friends, you cannot talk with your mother, father, elder sister, elder brother, or younger sister, younger brother, or with any relatives. There are always few things which fill your heart, but then you don't have anybody to talk to. And your heart feels heavy because you cannot in any way take those things out. It's not that I just go to a corner and I shout things out. No, you need someone to listen to you. These students at your age, this must be a very, very common feeling, that you have lots and lots of things which you want to say, but then you don't find anybody to talk to, or you cannot pour out your heart and empty your heart so that you feel fresh again. So that is what exactly Anne Frank means. Right now, I am not concerned what I will think later. I'll not consider what anybody else might think. I just feel like writing, and I'm going to write, because all that things that are filled in my heart, I just want to pour it down in the diary. And a diary is exactly for that. There are lots and lots of things that we are not able to say to anybody. Those things we write in a diary. That is why a diary becomes a very, very personal document. In civilized world, to read someone's diary is called bad manners. This is the reason, because the person has just poured out the heart and he doesn't want anyone to read that thing. Why should somebody read the personal feelings and emotions of a person? And for that purpose, if you even find somebody's diary, then you should not read it without permission. They're called bad manners. So here we just understand that she wanted to pour out her heart, and that is why she is writing. She goes on to say, and a very, very good line by Anne Frank, a 13-year-old, paper has more patience than men, than people. Patience, it's a very rare quality. Paper has more patience than people. If you are saying something, you are sure to find your mother questioning, your father questioning, their little brother, little sister, or elder brother saying something, questioning something. But a paper will never question you. It will have patience. So, paper has more patience than people. They will never ask you a question. So, you write anything on the paper is not going to question about it. The paper will patiently wait until you come up to the correct thing and write that correct thing on it. I thought of this saying on one of those days when I was feeling a little distressed and was sitting at home with my chin in my hand, bored and listless, wondering whether to stay in or go out. So it was a very difficult moment for that 13-year-old when she was in a distressed mood, distressed in some disturbing moments, painful, or simply stressed, having lots of tension. And the tension was whether to stay in the house or to go out. And she was feeling quite bored. A 13-year-old has nothing to do, has little space, not many friends to go out and play with or to enjoy the time with. So she was sitting at home and she had her chin in her hand, which is a gesture which shows that she is just thinking about something in a very casual manner. So whenever we think, we just put our hand palm under our chin and that is a posture that we make when we are thinking something. Then she decided. I finally stayed where I was. Wherever she was in the house, she stayed where she was. Brooding. Brooding means thinking. Yes, paper does have more patience. So at last she came to a conclusion that if I go outside, there will be people. If there are people, there will be questions. So somebody is going to stop her from doing something. That is that. Paper has more patience. Paper is not going to ask you any question apart from the question paper. And since I am not planning to let anyone else read this stiff-packed notebook, grandly referred to as a diary, unless I should ever find a real friend, it probably won't make a bit of difference. She says something which is very, very true. Now let us understand the words. Yes, she decided paper has more patience than people. And since I'm not planning to let anyone else read this. This is my diary. This is my personal diary. This is my personal feelings, emotions that I have written in this diary. So I am not going to let anyone read this. And then she explains the diary. It is stiff-backed. That is put in the words of Anne Frank. Otherwise, we will understand as a hardbound. Understand hardbound? Lots of sheets of paper cut into proper size and then it is bound on both sides by hard cardboard or perhaps even leather on top of it. That stiff-backed. That means if you lay it on the table, it will make a bang if you strike it on the table. That is stiff-back. Notebook. Wherever you have space to write something, that is called a notebook. So that stiff-backed notebook grandly means very exclusively called to as a diary. When I was gifted, it was told to me that this is called a diary. Now, when I open the gift, I see what it is. Yes, this is a notebook. Only thing is, it is stiff-packed, maybe covered with leather, and actual one that was given, it even had a lock so that nobody can open it unless a key is there. So in that way, this grand-looking notebook is called a diary. Now, whatever I have written in it, unless I should ever find a real friend, this diary is meant for no one except me. Nobody should read it. But then if I find a real friend and if that real friend is allowed to read my diary, then it won't make even a bit of difference because that is my real friend. A real friend is to whom you pour out your feelings and emotions. What exactly you think, you can tell it to your real friend only. That is why friends are for, right? So then it won't make a difference, because I am actually telling all the feelings and emotion or what I think to my real friend. Now if she or he reads that diary, it doesn't make a difference, because that is exactly what I have told him or her. So then it will make no difference. But then I should have a real friend. That real friend is given into inverted commas. Now I am back to the point that prompted me to keep a diary in the first place. What is that point which prompted her to keep a diary? I don't have a friend. In her own words, she says that she doesn't have a friend. Prompted poked me or encouraged me to keep a diary. Why am I keeping a diary? Why am I writing in the diary? I am writing in the diary and I am maintaining a record of what I think, what I feel. I'm writing all that in the diary. It's basically for the first reason that I do not have anyone to speak to of my age, or I don't think, even if he or she is of my age, I don't think that much that I should tell it to him or her, because might not be a real friend, just a friend. So I do not have any friend and I need a friend to pour out my feelings, my emotions, what I think, what I feel, all that I need to pour out somewhere. That is why I am keeping a diary. Let me put it more clearly. Since no one will believe that a 13-year-old girl is completely alone in the world. Students, we should remember that when she was born and brought up in Germany, at Frankfurt, at that time, the world was quite natural. That means she used to live in her house. Her house was in a very good area. She used to go to a good school. So she has seen this world properly. It's when things started going bad, when Jews, they were starting, the Nazis, they started arresting the Jews and sending them to the concentration camp. That is the point where things went bad and they had to shift outside. And that is how the world shrinked for her. So, outside of the circumstances that I am living in, nobody in the world will think that a 13-year-old girl is completely alone. Because a 13-year-old girl is never alone. She has lots of neighbors, lots of children of her own age in the surrounding. They will be playing together, they will be learning together, they will be going to the same school. After school, again, they will be playing together or reading together, studying together, or just enjoying the life together. So no one can think that a 13-year-old girl is completely alone and does not have a friend. And I am not. I am having lovely parents. So if somebody reads this diary and comes to a conclusion that this girl is all alone, then she says that no, this is completely wrong. I do have parents, and I have a 16-year-old sister, that is Margot. So I am not completely all alone in the world. I do have parents, I have sister, that means I have a family, and there are about 13 people I can call friends. As far as friends are concerned, there are at least 13 people whom I can call friends, whom I know. They know me. So I have a surrounding which is very, very good. I have lovely and loving and caring parents. I have an elder sister also, 3 years elder to me. I have family. And then I have loving aunts from the father's side, mother's side. That means she will be having lots of cousins also. And I have a very good home. I have everything that I need in this world. So please don't think that this girl is all alone in this world and that is why she is writing a diary. So now let us see what happens next. No. On the surface, I seem to have everything. This is important. On the surface. What is meaning of on the surface? That if you look at me, if you look at my family, if you look at me having friends and all that, then you think, no, this girl is not all alone, right? She has a complete family, an extended family, that is aunts and cousins and all that. She has lots of friends. So from outside you'll think that everything is in order, but that is on surface only. That means below the surface, that is inside me, I feel very lonely. Except my one true friend. No, on the surface I seem to have everything except one thing. That means I do not have a really true friend of mine. All I think about when I'm with friends is having good time. So whenever she is with her friends, she only thinks about having a good time with them. That means laughing, playing, enjoying. That is what she thinks. I can't bring myself to talk about anything but ordinary everyday things. What happened today in the class? What was taught in the class? What is the homework? Where shall we go to play? These are all the normal things that I talk with my friends. No intimate or personal things I talk with my friends, because I do not have a true friend. And the second problem that she has, that she is not ready to share her personal feelings with the so-called friends of hers. We don't seem to be able to get any closer, and that is the problem. They are all my friends, but nobody is so close to me that I can share myself and my thought with her. So that is the problem. I do not have a true friend. So we come to the point, to the understanding that now she will consider the diary as her true friend. So that's why we discussed in the previous lecture that anyone who reads the diary of a young girl, if they do not know her age, then the reader will think that this is quite a matured writing coming out of a matured person, and is really very surprised when they come to know, when the reader comes to know that this diary has been written by a 13-year-old. Because even at the age of 13, her thoughts were quite matured. Her writings were very clear. What she thinks looks quite matured. It's a matured thinking coming out of a just 13-year-old teenage girl. The very first line that you see on the screen is, maybe it's my fault that we don't confide in each other. She says she has 13 friends. Now, what is confide? To put trust. And that is where we make a choice. Students, even for you, you must be having your own choice, your own taste for your friends. You trust someone, you start trusting someone, that is when you start becoming closer and closer, and then that person becomes one of your fast friend, one of your true friend, one of your real friend. It is because you put trust on that person, and that person also trusts you and starts telling you all about himself or herself and shares his or her thought with you. That is when we make true friends. Anne Frank is not able to trust anyone, and that is the problem. She says for herself as for everybody else. Everybody else, even we, you or me, we do not have, say, 100 or 200 true friends. No, we have hardly one or two true friends, real friends. Maybe the number would go up to 5, maybe 6, but then it doesn't make a crowd. This is exactly the point, and Frank wants to tell us what she thinks, plus it is also true for the rest of the world, that The main problem of making true friends is that we have to confide each other, and that is the problem, that Anne Frank is not able to confide. So she is not able to confide, that means put trust in each other. In any case, that's just how things are. I cannot change myself. I am not ready to put trust on someone because I don't feel like putting trust on that person. So, unfortunately, they are not liable to change. And this is the circumstances with me. This is the situation. I cannot just put trust on anyone. That is why I am not able to make a true friend. And unfortunately, these things are not going to change overnight. I cannot change my nature overnight. And they are also not liable to change. That means they are also overnight, they are also not going to start putting trust on me so that we can become true friends. This is why I started with the diary. So she gives reason why she started with the diary, because she does not have a true friend. All these was the explanation why she did not have true friends, because she was not ready to put trust on someone very easily, and she cannot change her nature. So this way there was no true friend of hers. That is why she made the diary a real friend, true friend, and shared everything with the diary. To enhance the image of this long-awaited friend in my imagination, I don't want to jot down the facts of this diary the way most people would do. But I want the diary to be my friend, and I'm going to call this friend Kitty. To enhance the image. In her mind, she always had an image of how a true friend should be. Now that is just imagination, a blank square box which does not have any photograph. But she has always imagined that if I will have a true friend, then this is the definition for a true friend. Now I don't have a true friend, so I'll make the diary my true friend. So to enhance, enhance means to make bigger, or here to make better. The image of the long awaited, for a very long time she awaited, that means she was waiting for someone to become her close friend, and that happened in my imagination. I didn't tell anyone that. Now, other people also must be maintaining a diary, but I do not want to maintain my diary like other people. So I'm not going to start jotting down everything that happens with me. Jotting down, as soon as it comes to your mind, you write it down. That's called jotting down. So I don't want to jot down the facts in this diary. Yes, I had my breakfast today, 7 a.m. Then I went to school, 8 a.m. Then I had this talk with this friend. No, I am not going to do whatever happens to me. I am not going to write it down in the diary. This is a special friend. So a special friend always has a name. So I am going to call this diary Kitty. And Kitty is going to be my best friend. So from now on, the name of the diary becomes Kitty. Students, let us do a small comprehension check that is given between part 1 and part 2 of this chapter. A simple questions that is also provided in your PDF sheet that was sent along with the previous video. Small questions, 1 or 2 line answers. These answers, they are just an example, but when the same question is asked to you, you are not going to write these 2 lines. You are going to extend this answer as much as possible so that it makes a huge big paragraph which will get you 2 marks. For 2 lines, nobody is going to give you 2 marks. So when you read the answer that is given in the PDF, also think what more you can add so that you can extend this answer and will be able to get maximum out of the 2 marks for this question. What makes writing in a diary a strange experience for Anne Frank? The answer is in a very cut short method, so you know where to write more so that you can complete this answer. First, she had never written anything like this before, and secondly, she thought that nobody is going to read or would be interested in her diary, which is a very short answer for the question. We know why writing a diary is a strange experience to Anne Frank. We have discussed this in detail, right? Next question has only one line answer. Why does Anne want to keep a diary? I think we can write a big whole paragraph for that. But here it's given in one single line. Anne wants to keep a diary as she didn't have friends. Question number 3. Why did Anne think that she could confide more in her diary than in people? Now, if you see, I have given quite a big paragraph for that answer because this question requires more length to be justified. She could confide or she could put trust in her close friend, but she did not have one true friend. The friends she had there were to have more fun and good times rather than the one on whom she could put trust and tell her some personal things. She also believes that a paper has to have more patience than people, so she decided to write and confide in a diary. Rather than putting trust on the people, she thought that people will have more patience and will never ask me any question, and I'll be able to say everything to the diary what I want to say to a true friend, so paper will never question me back and is not going to question any of my writing or any of my feelings or tell me what is right and what is wrong, will just allow me to write down whatever I want to. So she puts more trust on paper rather than a real person. Now we come to part 4.2. Since no one would understand a word of my stories to Kitty, if I were to plunge right in, I would better provide a brief sketch of my life, much as I dislike doing so. This is the beginning part. So, nobody is going to understand what is Kitty, why I am naming this book as Kitty, which is going to be my diary, and nobody is going to understand a word I am telling to Kitty and why I am telling all that to Kitty. If I was supposed to plunge right in, plunge means dive, that means just start pouring whatever I felt into the diary, nobody is going to ask me. And secondly, if somebody reads it then also doesn't understand why I'm writing all this to Kitty. So if I were just to start writing, it doesn't make any difference to anybody. For me, it makes a difference. So if I plunge right now, if I dive right now in the diary and start writing, but if somebody reads it, then I would better provide a brief sketch of my life. Brief, a short one. Sketch, an outline. Sketch is always an outline. So I would better start providing you a short story of my life up till here. And really, I dislike doing so. I don't like writing about my life. But then it is necessary because if someone reads it afterwards, or even when I read it afterwards, then I'll be satisfied. Yes, first I told about myself and then started writing about myself. Students, Anne Frank is not a sad girl. She is not unhappy with the circumstances. She is just describing the circumstances. Many times people feel sad. Even you might be feeling sad at some point in time. So it doesn't make you permanently a sad person, but she has lots of humor. Each and every person has lots of humor. Here we see a very fine example of Anne Frank's humor. She starts by praising her father as a very good man, appreciating her father for giving all the things that she needs in her life, all the love, care, whatever belongings, everything the father has provided. More than the things, she's caring about the love that is given by the father. So she starts writing about her father. My father, the most adorable, lovable, and respectable. Children, they always love and respect their parents. So here it should be understood as adorable means lovable. Okay, but then respected also goes along with. My father, the most adorable father I have seen. She has just seen her father. But at the same time, she has seen lots of other people also who have children, and doing the comparison, she knows that her father is far more better than might be other children, their father. My father didn't marry my mother until he was 36 and she was 25. This is told very humorously. That means the two didn't get married until the father's age was 36 and the mother's age was 25. My sister Margot was born in Frankfurt in Germany in 1926. 5-6 years after the First World War. The First World War ended in 1919 and Margot was born in 1926, that is some 7 years after the World War ended. So she had a sister who was 3 years older to her. So my parents, they got married when my father's age was 36 and when my mother's age was 25. And my sister Margot, she was born in Frankfurt, that is Germany, in the year 1926. Now she gives her own details. I was born on 12th of June 1929, exactly 10 years after the First World War and 3 years after her sister was born. So her sister Margot was 3 years elder. I lived in Frankfurt until I was 4. That's not quite an age where children start understanding, but they do understand the atmosphere, and the atmosphere was quite okay till she became 4 years of age. Then came the bad times, because after 29, Hitler was slowly becoming more and more powerful, and 2 years later, that is 31, he became the Chancellor of Germany. So she was also born in Frankfurt, Germany, and she lived in Germany till she was 4 years of age. After, that means from 29 to 33, she lived in. By the time Hitler was already in position and the situation was getting tight for the Jews. So my father emigrated to Holland, emigrated on a permanent basis, became the citizen of Holland in 1933. My mother, now we come to the name of mother of Anne Frank, that is Edith Hollander Frank, went with him to Holland in September. So the two children were kept back, and the father emigrated first, then mother also followed in the month of September. She also emigrated and went with him The name of the mother is Edith Hollander Frank. She also emigrated to Holland to stay with the father, and the two children were kept over here. Now let us learn where these two children were kept, that is Margot and Anne Frank. Now, parents, both of them, migrated to Holland. Now, where will these children? Something has to be done, because children cannot be left all alone, because Anne was just 4 years old and Margot 4 plus 3 7 years old. So they had to be given to someone to take care, and only a family member can take care of them. So Margot and I were sent to Aachen to stay with our grandmother. So grandmother came to help, and these children were sent over to Aachen to stay with their grandmother. Then later on, Margot was shifted slowly. So the family shifted from Germany one by one, so that nobody becomes suspicious, because the situation had become quite tight for the Jews till then. So Margot was the first one to go to Holland in December, and then 2 months later, father made arrangements for Anne also to come to Holland. So Anne reached Holland in the month of February, 2 months after Margot reached Holland. When I was plunked down on the table as a birthday present for Margot, because she was quite young, just 4.5 years old. So she was plunked down. Plunked down means to set something on the table. That means here it was a table, but to set something with a bang. So all of a sudden, after Margot reached Holland, 2 months later, I was called to Frankfurt. Arrangement was made so that I can reach Holland, and then I was set on the table with a bang as a surprise for Margot. See, your little sister. So that way, as if a showpiece, a present, a gift, I was put on the table as a birthday present for Margot. On the day which was Margot's birthday, on that day I came to home in Holland, and I was set on the table as a gift, as a surprise for Margot. So this is how she feels. These are her feelings, that I was put on the table and Margot was given a surprise gift by the parents, that now your sister is also here with you. So students, we stop over here for the day. We'll be getting the assignment in a PDF form along with this video. Thank you, students.